not only the citizens but also the council is incurring in this matter is the use of the word blight. I mean, that word, when it was used by the state legislature in defining part of the urban renewal process, I think was in my opinion, was a blatant mistake. Because people look at that word and they say, oh, they're going to cause my property to be blighted. It's going to decrease the value of my property. If it's blighted, it's not going to have the value that it had before it was declared blighted. But the good news is that in looking at the statute, and I, by the way, personally testified at some of the hearings at the state legislature on this urban renewal law when it was adopted and amended numerous times, that state statute looks at the definition of the word blight. And Roger is correct when he says that when you form an urban renewal area, you're talking about the entire area, and within that area, these are areas that need to be addressed. It doesn't mean every single property in that area is defective or something wrong with it or needs to be addressed. It means some of the properties in that area needs to be addressed. And pointing out in the proposed findings is that you have one of the findings, a defective or inadequate street layout. As an example, some of the streets may not be wide enough. Some of the streets may have obstructed intersections or you name it, but that's one example. Another example is lot layout. Irregular sized lots or too small lots where you can't build a sizable development on that one lot because you have to combine lots, and under our zoning or subdivision regulation, you can't build a structure over a lot line. So what do? You have to re-subdivide and eliminate that lot line in order to be able to develop the property. So if lots in that subdivision are inadequate in size or cannot be used as they are presently laid out, that's one of the bases for saying this is a blighted area. Another reason, I'm just summarizing some of these because any four of the 9 is acceptable. If you have public improvements or utilities that are inadequate, so if the storm drainage in the area is not adequate, that's a reason for declaring this a blighted area. Another reason is some properties may have accumulated conditions that are a fire hazard. And it may be something that had been cleaned up overnight, but it's still, at the time of the inspection, it was a fire hazard and needed to be cleaned up, so that was a finding. So having summarized that and made my point, the word blight, I think, is very misleading. And I join with the mayor in saying this, that in making a decision in making a determination that an urban renewal area should be formed, doesn't mean you've done anything at that point. It hasn't decreased the property area, the property prices. It hasn't done anything as far as development of the property is concerned. It's just a tool and the first step that needs to be in place in order for you to move forward with the next steps. So if you adopted an urban renewal plan and organized an urban renewal authority for this area and did nothing further, nothing would happen. You would have done nothing. You have to do something in addition to that, and this is the starting point. This is the tool to move forward, if you will. Now, if there's a concern about eminent domain here, always remember that in this city, we do not have funds appropriated where we can go forward and condemn property without coming back to you with a public hearing on the ordinance for condemnation, and then making a decision on a case-by-case basis as to whether or not there should be any eminent domain. All this does is say, if down the road you decide the last resort is eminent domain, you can move that next step and do it. But this doesn't give you any authority to proceed with eminent domain. If you will recall, in every eminent domain case, I've had to bring forward to you a resolution where you have authorized specifically for a property an eminent domain proceeding. So that, in my opinion, should not be any hang-up as to whether or not we should organize an urban renewal authority for this area. I'm open for questions, but those are my comments.